my beautiful human, Zach, Dan, and we welcome to the studio for the first time ever, Declan Mckenna.
Yo! Yay!
Woo! Woo! Are your frames real?
Yeah.
They're very cool.
Thanks.
Really, they're a good shape.
I don't know whether I want to wear them or not. They're a bit smudged. I've always got
Me too.
grease on my glasses.
Good glasses, good socks.
No, yeah, and the socks aren't even meant to be together, but they are.
Yeah, exactly. They're meant to be.
I feel like there is I don't know, I can make some deep connection to your socks to this double A side that you've decided to drop.
Right. Then maybe this is my gateway to it's two in one.
Yeah, it's like a pairing of sorts. And we have two different songs. One of the songs is like 5 minutes and 26 seconds.
Yeah, it's a long enough tune.
Was it built at that length, or did it originate longer and you had to cut it down?
No, I never had to cut it down. It's been like a long time in progress, that song, Champagne. So it started out not as Champagne. I didn't have that chorus, and it's like an old idea from probably 7 years ago, or it's like from when I was touring the first album. I sort of had this like the sort of groove of the song. So it's been building from there, basically. Recently I came up with with the chorus, basically. I don't know. I feel like it was just one of those ones where it just kind of struck me, and then I was like maybe thinking about this old song and was like, oh, what if I put them together? And then, and then you kind of just trying to make a story out of it, and sometimes it's a long story. But I think I started out, that's how my first couple of singles, or my first two singles were pretty long. Like Brazil is pretty long. It's like 4 something, and then after that I released Paracetamol, and that's like 5 minutes or 6 minutes long.
Do you think the length of Brazil is why you were off 2 percentage points when you released it as a school project?
I don't know. Yeah, the intro was too long. I have no idea. I question that to this day. Although I feel like, I don't know, maybe my vocal performance is a little bit weird, but I think it's part of the beauty of it. That's the thing. It's like not an imperfect song, but that's why it's got its charms,
The most perfect art is deeply imperfect.
Yeah, that's well put. Yeah, it is. It's like, and that's why, sometimes those songs that back then, if I wrote them now, I would probably try and make them a little bit more succinct, but there's something nice about the fact that I just didn't. I just threw my things at it, and that was the song,
Can we get into the fact that you combined 2 songs, and one of those songs was from very, very, very long time ago? Had you ever done that before? Because
yeah, all the time, kind of.
Were you just like sit on something for a long time and then kind of give it new life?
Yeah, because a lot of my writing is just making notes of little melodies that either come to my head, or when I'm playing with, a guitar or something. It's just something that sort of sticks out to me, and I record it, or it is in a lot of sometimes the best stuff is the stuff that just comes and you got the whole song in one sitting, but a lot of the time you have to work a little harder than that to get something that you're really, really happy with, and it is what it is. And so, you'll keep latching onto these little things from over the years, and sometimes you look really far back and find something and that you maybe liked but you didn't know what to do with, or didn't know where it could go, or oftentimes, when I was younger and maybe a less experienced sort of songwriter, I would just do unnecessary shit and wind up with something that's just no one wants to listen to because it's too indulgent. It's too many ideas all in one, and that's probably where I wound up with this original thing. Whereas the chorus being kind of simple and grounding it, kind of gave the other part license to be a little zany and up and down. I've actually thought this bit not trying to segue, but watching Sabrina's live gigs on this tour, because the way they've sort of set up some of the songs where they've changed them a bit from the record is that they'll go into these crazy jazzy verses and it really takes you away, and then they just lock in for the chorus and just play like as simple as possible, and it's so satisfying because it's like this combination of real like technically brilliant like musicianship but done in a really fun way, and then they just lock in on the chorus. So yeah, sometimes it's about like grounding a really zany idea and then just making it satisfying by doing something simple. But to actually answer your question, it happens all the time. There's a song on my recent album that I released this year, Mezzanine, which comes from like a dance track. Like the hook is really from like a dance track that me and my old bandmate Will made together. So it's like the same sort of hook as in Mezzanine, but just to like a 4 to the floor beat. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could make this into like one of my songs. And so there's always little things like that happen.
By the way, Sabrina is like a multi-layered genius, and she's
but pretty much.
Crazy. And the live stage show looks
Have you
unparalleled.
been?
No.
Have you seen it? No.
No.
It's incredible. I've never been on a tour like this. I've never been on a tour with like dancers, for example. Like I've never been on a tour with like anywhere near this level of production. Because I mean, we haven't done a support tour since probably since my first album. It's insane. Like it's just so brilliant. It's just so many amazing things executed all at the same time. You know, it takes a lot of people and a lot of effort to do that and a lot of commitment. It's a seriously good show and a lot of really good songs. It's really impressive how stacked the set list is, like with great tunes.
Can we talk about the fact that Chapel Roan did open for you at one point? She did support you on the road.
Right, yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, again...
That's a sharing of the stage with somebody who would end up, finding their place in culture in a real way.
In a serious way, and in a really, is a really important, like, phenomenon right now. Like, it's just wild. I mean, I feel kind of, like, proud almost, like, seeing the development and progression from what she was doing back then to now, this like just this like undeniable music. Like it's maybe a term that gets thrown around a bit, but I think it's really, really true with Chapel. Like it's very rare that you play those songs to people and they don't kind of love it. And
more than
at least
love
in
it,
my experience,
like feel it,
Yeah, like get it and get the need for it, and just it's just this infectious energy to our music right now, which is crazy. But yeah, we did a whole 2-month, maybe more, long tour, like a sloggy van tour of everywhere in America. Like it was not the easiest tour either of us would have ever done, and yeah, it went on, and we were playing like. It was like, a lot of like the B and C markets, so like smaller towns. So a lot of really awesome shows, playing for people who don't necessarily always get international artists playing in their hometowns. So really fun in that respect. But like, it was a tough tour. It was different, very, very like spoiled and lucky now to be sort of, bussing around and you don't really see the country even. Like back then, it was like truck stop to truck stop, doing these long hours driving after the show, a couple hours to get halfway and then waking up at the crack of dawn to drive the rest of the way, 4 or 5 hours or whatever it was. Like it's crazy touring America because it's so big, but yeah, it was like that. So it was like we did a pretty sloggy tour together.
Pretty different tour than the one you're on now.
It's character building.
Yeah,
it's true. It's character building.
Yeah, but like you really can't be an incredible musician without like having these kind of like benchmark moments that one needs to hit. And yes, touring the country in the back of a van. Yeah. Showering at truck stops or in like crappy showers at the venue.
I don't know if I did it at a truck stop, but it could have happened. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wild.
Could we just talk about the fact that like a song from so many years ago ends up being a sound that's so different than the one I've heard you release and create before? I mean, Champagne sounds different than any other Declan Mckenna song I've heard before.
Right.
But the root of that song is so old.
Yeah. Well, I think I make a lot of music, I guess, is it really, because I'm constantly working on ideas and I've, hundreds of demos or different ideas that never see the light of day. And so there's, like, I kind of have, I think, aspects of music that I make that I see as like part of me as an artist that other people wouldn't really know about, because it's all on hard drives, you know. And that's probably like one of those things, is like a sort of aesthetic there that is fresh to listeners but is old to me, because I've worked on like different stuff, I guess, in that vein, and always sort of messing around with just different ideas, different aesthetics, really.
So you strategically have curated the sonic aesthetic that you've been in post-Brazil, correct?
Not really strategic at all. Like, I just kind of go from one place to the next, and but I you know, yeah, the thing is there that, yeah, I kind of have little, you know, sound worlds and things, or, you know, things that I do kind of on a regular basis creatively that just hasn't, like, or is yet to see the light of day, but some of it will, some of it won't, you know, because, yeah, I just make so much stuff. It's kind of what I always have done. So yeah, that's why there's like old ideas that feel fresh, or feel like they kind of belong as a next step.
Yeah, like it's totally different sound and evolution.
But I think really the thing for me is I just always try and keep moving. Like, you know, even before I released Brazil, I was just trying to discover things, and I think as time has gone on, I've kind of seen it as like almost like learning about music. Like, the more I'm like learning about music while creating, the better. The more I'm like actually genuinely exploring new ideas, the better I feel, because, you know, I'm just getting this amazing education from all the different studios I've been in, all the different people I've been able to work with. And like, when you're, you know, a little bit lost along the way, or a little bit like your feet aren't quite touching the ground. I think that's a Bowie quote. When your feet aren't quite touching the ground, like, that's when you're about to do something great, or that's when you're like just ready to do something great, you know. And I think that's really true. So yeah, I've kind of kept that ethos to just kind of keep moving. I never really set out to have a project, or like wasn't like I'm going to start a shoegaze band or anything like that. I'm just kind of releasing my songs as I go. So,
What do you learn about music from Brazil?
That's quite a big question, because I feel like it was my first time recording in a proper studio. So, or like, you know, it was at a music university studio that Max, who produced it, was studying at. So like, naturally just sort of seeing that, recording drums for the first time properly, you know, there's like very base level stuff that I learned. But then also, I think over time, I really sort of, it's kind of really taught me to relax and to not get things too right or too perfect. Like we were kind of saying earlier about, you know, imperfections leading to great art. You know, this stuff in Brazil that maybe feels like a byproduct of me being young, and, you know, my voice cracks at some certain point. You know, there's like a certain looseness to it, but I'm now sort of at a point where I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to put into music. You know, at a point I might have been like, oh, I hate how my voice sounds on that song, but now I'm like, oh, it's actually just great. Like, you know, because my voice sounds so different on that record from what it does now, and it's, you know, definitely got a little more imperfections, but I'm kind of trying to recreate those imperfections now, because, you know, it's because I just want to be having fun making music, totally, and not thinking about getting it right. You know, you just want to go.
Success does that to you, right? Success makes you hyper aware in areas that like you weren't aware of before.
Yeah, and it like changes your process. Or I think I found in the immediate aftermath of sort of getting, not really having like attention from the general public, but from the music industry, because I had a lot of like music industry sort of after me when I released Brazil. Basically, I had a lot of conversations with different managers mainly, and kind of this is while I was like 16 doing my GCSE exams and stuff, so like very disorientating time, going out of
Crazy.
school to like a meeting with a manager or a label person or whatever, just not really knowing what they even do or understanding that world. But like, yeah, I found getting into the industry initially, you're kind of like, oh, I've got to do this properly now. And nowadays I'm like, I've got to like not do this properly. You know, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go into like, you know, a big studio and record the album this way, or I'm going to go and write the songs this way because that's how you do it properly. And you're like, now I'm like, oh, no. Just doing it in your bedroom is great, you know, and messing around, you're sort of procrastinating and making music instead of doing your other responsibilities. Like, that's kind of what it should be, because that's where the juice is, you know.
Totally.
Yeah.
Do you maintain any of that for your first album, or do you find yourself switching how you make music pretty instantly with the success?
I think now I'm in the best place creatively that I have been, because I feel very confident and I feel like I understand those different elements. You know, like when I was making the last record, Luca, who I was working with, talked a lot about like perspective and like getting perspective on the music that you're making and listening to it in the setting that it is going to be listened to, as opposed to like closing your eyes, putting headphones on and really concentrating on every single part. Like, it's not really how you ever listen to music. And so stuff like that now, I understand more, and yeah, I don't feel like I'm like trying to harness that sort of freedom. I think it comes quite naturally now, and I've just had a bit of time to like figure out how it is I want to be creative. And it's, you know, it's not like I have a process or anything. It's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, it's about just being free and open to, you know, accepting the ideas that the universe gives you, or, you know, people
Totally.
give you, or whether it's lyrics or melodic ideas or whatever, like just being open and being ready to do it. And yeah, the main rule for me is like, it's just keeping it loose, not perfecting it.
So how do you like put a schedule to that? Or do you really just...
I don't really. You know, at the minute it's like weird because I'm touring, and it's just whenever I get a minute, you know, I might come up with an idea, but there's, you know, and I can set aside time and make music that way, but when I've got a lot of free time, I think, and I'm trying to come up with ideas as opposed to like lay stuff down in a proper way, I, you know, really just want to like mess around and kind of passively engage with it, and not be like, as I say, beating my head against the wall, really trying to write a song. It's always when I'm like sat there trying to write a song that I can't even do this. It like has to like kind of get an idea from a point of inspiration, like something kind of random has to happen, I think, a lot of the time. You know?
can't force it.
Yeah.
But you just need
Exactly.
to be aware of when it knocks, right?
Yeah, you just need to like to be prepared and be confident that you can like execute it. You know, I think confidence is so important creatively, just to like back yourself and know your like taste enough to be like, this is what I want to do. I think this is good. You know, if you start doubting that something you're doing is good mid writing a song or whatever it is, then, you know, you just lose your flow. You have to just believe in it. Even if after the fact you go, no, that wasn't great. Like, you just have to believe in it.
But like, where does your confidence stem from?
I think I've always just made music, but I think over time I've just gotten more confident because I've done it for a long time, and I'm like, why I have to be confident, you know. There's moments of weakness where you feel like, you know, inadequate in ways, like anyone does. But I see them as that, you know, as a moment of weakness, and not as like how I truly feel about like what I am as an artist. Like I just sort of back myself to make good things that I like, and that's kind of it, really. Like that's kind of all I need to feel confident, because, you know, it just has to be, yeah, true self-belief and truly like gunning for your own ideas, and for that's kind of where the unique art and like giving away a part of your personality sort of comes from. you have to be confident in like what you are, you know. You have to be confident that what you're doing has a purpose, you know. So I don't know where it comes from, but I think it's just experience. Just I've been writing songs for actually quite, you know, most of my life. So I have to back myself.
What are you celebrating with Champagne? Is it the fact that you're now independent and you can do things your way?
I don't know. I don't see it as that because I wrote, I sort of came up with that chorus a while ago. It was kind of like it was kind of industry related. I think it actually comes from sort of someone in the industry I overheard saying like, at a certain point, sort of someone saying that, oh, you've got to have champagne, you know, we're celebrating, you've got to have champagne, something like that. To me, the chorus is kind of ironic thing, like, it's sort of playing with the fact that, you know, at certain points, you're sort of celebrating an achievement, and sort of like you've reached this like one point, whatever it may be, where you've like achieved something, and everyone wants to like, you know, toast and sort of be like, woohoo, we've done it, we've made it. But to me, a lot of those things just don't actually bring you true happiness. It's like hollow, you know. It's like you're sort of looking for this goal after goal, you know. Like, I'm trying to, what would be an example? Like, we always have it like going for like a like number one record or something. We've, you know, tried to do that a few times, or like you have a big like release week or something, and it's like, but the joy of that sort of stuff, you know, even if you do really well, is quite short-lived. And really, to me, like, happiness comes from just enjoying the process and being proud of what you've done. And like, so that's kind of where the true meaning of Champagne comes from. It's like a kind of slightly tongue-in-cheek take on that sort of thing, like, you know, our sort of goal, you know, seeking goals and seeking happiness through actually quite hollow means, as opposed to sort of being happy in yourself and enjoying the journey, like no matter what the outcome.
But is that an acquired motivation or acquired just take on life? Or do you know what I'm saying? Like, was there a moment where you were solely focused on the destination? Because success of any magnitude could really do that to you, right? And life.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you can get lost. No, you're right. It is acquired. It is like something that I've sort of realised over time through having moments. I've sort of had moments where you sort of reach this amazing, you know, goal that you've been searching towards, but I kind of always, you know, come back to, you know, and over time I sort of realised that like I have to just be happy with the sort of everyday of it, you know, as opposed to exhausting yourself trying to sort of impress people or trying to sort of reach those kinds of goals. Like it's not that you can't sort of do that, but it's that, you know, sort of being, you know, reaching the top or whatever, reaching the top of your industry, or, you know, the highest place in your career, or, you know, whether it's the biggest show or the biggest whatever, like those can be great, but your happiness doesn't necessarily correlate with those things. It correlates more with the everyday and being happy with the everyday. So, yeah, I think that's sort of seeped in a lot to not just with Champagne, but, you know, a lot of the ideas on the last album are kind of like, you know, meditating on that a little bit, like sort of Mulholland, some kind of, again, it's a kind of got an ironic, or I don't know if ironic is the right word, but it's sort of, you know, tongue-in-cheek take on all that as well. It's like found love for the little things in life, and like that's kind of, it's been a big thing for me, and a big important like message. Sometimes you're kind of writing these songs to remind yourself of like how you really feel, and what you really want to like live by.
That was one of my questions, is like, how many of these songs are written to you or written to somebody else?
It's so hard to say, like, because I interpret the songs differently and different people interpret the songs differently, and like they, to me, I'm just sort of, I start from one point and then I try and build out a story, and it's not necessarily all, it's definitely not all like accurate like descriptions of life, but it's just compiled of different experiences or different thoughts that have come to my head, and eventually, because it's just a song at the end of the day. Sometimes they deviate from the theme a little bit just for the sake of it being enjoyable. You're sort of like just incorporating all these different ideas in one thing. But so it's like it's kind of neither here nor there, and in a lot of it, it's I'm writing for myself, I'm writing for other people, because it's this big like melting pot of all the things that are kind of going on at the time that you're writing the song, and what it means. Yeah, it's sort of transient. Sometimes you're really specific, but like a lot of songs, particularly one like Champagne, which literally is like a melting pot of that old sort of original idea and something new, and there's lyrics that are from the original idea, and so they can't really have that much connection to what sort of inspired the actual chorus of the song, but it just fits the song. So,
A song like That's Life.
Yeah.
I mean, is that written as a reminder? Where does that come from? Because it is about the cyclical nature of life, feeling like we're just constantly in a cycle.
Yeah, or just feeling like life is shit, really. I think that's kind of the feeling that came. This is a kind of old idea as well, but not as old, like maybe a year or two, that had just been lying around. But yeah, it took a point where I felt like there'd been several, not just to me, but just people around me as well, like several just really cruel sort of incidents that make you feel like the world is out to get you, or that life can just be unnecessarily cruel. Like it was, even though it's like this kind of fun, playful song, for the lyrics and everything to click and for me to sort of pinpoint exactly what I was saying, it actually did take a pretty rough period. And yeah, so I knew what I wanted to say, but it actually took sort of life to catch up with it to really get it out.
Interesting. So like in a manifestation way, or like you needed life to kind of play out for you to be able to finish the song?
Well, it just made it make sense when I came back to the song with like new experiences, and with new sort of like, a friend of mine passed away sort of not that long ago, less than a year ago, and that was one of a series of sort of things, as I say, not just to me, but where you just like, for fuck's sake, like things can be so cruel. And so when I went back to writing to the song after that, it wasn't really planned out or anything. It just kind of, I was like, oh great, this is what I'm saying. Life can just be a cycle of cruel sort of shit. So that's really, it's weird because I don't tie it to those sort of like dark things in such a way, because I think it is quite a playful song, but that's ultimately is what made it click. What made it happen was just really feeling quite cynical and pessimistic.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Grief sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible.
No, it's terrible. I lost my best friend 2 years ago, and it's really hard. It's really terrible. Yeah. And like, it's things like this can help you make sense of things, but it's all kind of fleeting, and it's rough. Like, loss is horrible. It is horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it hits incredibly hard.
Well, because, dude, I think about it all the time. There's moments every week where I just want to call my best friend because I've experienced something, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very much like weather. Like some days is very beautiful and memories of them, it's
Yeah.
the sunniest day. And then other times it's fucking a hurricane and it's patchy and it's rough.
Yeah, anything can kind of
It's rough.
take you back,
100%. Does art help you rationalize or make sense of things like this? Or what role does it play in dude, you have songs like Why Do You Feel So Down? Like you are talking about things on emotional scale.
Yeah. I think so. I think I look back on some of those first album and even before those sort of songs, like I'm sort of processing emotions before I knew how to process emotions, really. I don't think I was very emotionally intelligent like as a teenager. As a lot of teenagers, you're still figuring yourself out. You're still figuring out how to communicate, knowing what you're feeling as like a young boy. It's like, your emotions can come out in the wrong way. So I feel like that was like an early form of me processing emotions on tracks like that. And now I kind of like try and tap back into, like I was kind of saying earlier, like tap back into like that thing of like just letting the emotions just flow onto the page, even though I can't quite keep up with what they are.
But that's a part of
there's something amazing creatively about doing that.
Totally.
But at the same time, I'm like trying to be like, what does this mean? What am I really feeling? I need to be, an adult. So it changes over time. But with that comes, good things as well. Like, I feel like there's a project. I've got kind of a few projects that I'm working on at the minute, basically, which are based off of different sort of things. And one that I'm sort of, I don't know, which will hopefully become an album, is based off of really, the last album was like very digital, very wild sonically, and I've kind of, it got me back to just writing really simple songs on an acoustic guitar and just, trying to write the song the whole way through and not do the piecing together sort of thing. And with that, doing that at a slightly older age, then I might have written a few songs like that, on my first and second album, a bit younger. Like there's also just more life experience to build upon and more to say, and like some more serious sort of stuff that I feel I can sing about and be. So I feel like in a way that allows me to be more vulnerable, more open, more honest, because there's more, there's more meat, there's more serious like sort of experience there to draw from. So there's one thing sort of. It's sort of an exchange that sort of time has sort of given me, is that like I think my perspective has shifted and more experiences, and I'm able to perhaps write some more like really honest music because I have more of these experiences that I want to like, I don't know, that I feel compelled one day to just write and sing about.
No, that's it, like from a matured perspective, but like reapproaching what you used to do and what really got you here in the first place. So funny. I keep saying this, but I feel like there's been so many guests, and myself included, where like people are on this quest to feel this like what they felt when they first started on this journey.
Yeah.
And it's always aligned with age, and age tends to be aligned with like blind confidence and this naivete to like totally move forward with the most imperfect shit because you believe in it, because it's yours. Like you have nothing to lose because you don't even know really what's at stake.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's the magic. Like
Totally.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like that's what we're. Yeah, as I say, not like I don't feel more confident as a writer now and stuff, like with more experience and all that, and I feel like I can tap into the right things at the right time. But it's just so important to me that making music is like, making music as a 15-year-old, that that being creative is truly about being creative and not beating your head against the wall and not, forcing yourself to do it like a job, because that's not what it is. It's not. I'm not in the most serious industry in the world, and I shouldn't treat it like, an office job. I don't think anyway. There's something just so important as an artist to just let the sort of child inside you burst out of you, and
It's the reason why you got here to begin with.
yeah, and that freedom is just so key to things being fun and being something that people want to engage with. I think a lot of artists find that, because like you said earlier, like when you see a bit of success or things start to become more like a job, then things can change, and
Yeah, you understand
wanna
cause
get
and
back.
effect. Like you understand what's at stake. Like you realize like a bunch of things that could really ultimately like cloud the process
yeah.
and change who you are as a person too.
Yeah, and you want it to be like, I think fans want the rawest form of an artist's art. Like, it's very easy to try and create something that you think other people want, but it's so easy then to make something boring or run of the mill, because you're kind of basing it off of what's already popular or what people already have and what people already like. But I think it's best to not underestimate your fans, ultimately just fans of music, and I think you doing things in the most unique way and the most true to you sort of way is the best way to execute good art, and also art that people want to listen to. So I think they can be the same thing. At least that's how I try to approach it.
Is this double A side connected to anything larger, or is it really just going to be these two songs and then moving on to something different sonically?
It's not part of any bigger project at the minute. I just really sort of did it because I could. I just became independent, and
Congratulations.
I was sort of ready to get back in the studio. Thanks. Ready to get back in the studio and do something. And me and Shul, the producer of the two tracks, just kind of got it done, and we were like, let's get it out, And I've kind of done in between releases between each album. This one just happened a bit quicker, so it might just remain as that. Maybe I'll see them as part of a bigger project, but I kind of like it as just a double A side because, like I was saying, I kind of am building other projects as we speak, and I just want to get more music out and do it quicker than I have before, because I have the sort of, at the minute anyway, I have the sort of freedom to do it, and I feel like I can execute it, in a good way. So I just want to keep moving forward and get more stuff out rather than looking, pulling stuff that's already out.
What does the freedom feel like?
Hard to say. I mean, it's been a busy year, so it's not been a huge change in my life. But I guess with this release, it's been a little different. Just there is a bit more to consider when you're not with the label, and stuff you have to figure out for yourself and do for yourself. But I still have, a team around me, people sort of making it all happen.
And like a team you've been with for a while too.
Yeah. I've had the same sort of management team, I guess, for a really long time. So that's really who I work with day to day, kind of making things turn. And but as I say, it's been alongside a lot of touring this year with that album release at the start of it. So I think it would be interesting. I don't know if it's going to happen that way, but it would be interesting to release a full album independently.
Why not?
Because it would be so. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know where things are going to go. I'm not in the position to be I don't have an album yet, so it's things could change, and I'm not closed off to do anything in any particular way. But obviously, the sort of doing things independently, I think everyone likes the idea of that, because it's technically a free process and feels more direct to fans. And I think that's what's been good about these songs, and the video I made was just me and my friends, and all those elements really amount to something more personable and more
reminiscent to what was.
Yeah, I guess, and just not even of what was. It's just me, It's
Totally.
just that's ultimately what I think fans of me want, and that's what I want as a music fan from artists. So yeah.
And you own it all.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is cool. I don't know. Own your art. Very rare.
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I as I say, I'm it's quite exciting, and I was very excited to get into it. You know, I kind of knew it was coming towards, because it's kind of like, you know, 6 months after my record deal, or after my third album. That was kind of the end of the deal as planned, and like sort of knew it was coming up, and I was like, yeah, I think I'd like to just do this for a bit, see how it goes. And that's kind of still where I'm at. I'm just kind of seeing how it goes, you know.
Let it flow.
Yeah, not trying to rush into any other deals or anything like that. It's just, you know, I'm quite happy, and I've been very fortunate with the opportunities that have come up. I mean, maybe it's, you know, yeah, I don't know, just like this tour with Sabrina, we've got the Australian stuff with Two Door coming up in a couple of weeks, and then next year we got offered the Imagine Dragons support in Europe as well. So just like stuff that, you know, has just been like, well, I have no need to rush into anything because I've just got all this stuff coming up that's like super great, and like really not like, you know, quite unique experiences, you know, not like anything I do, like doing an arena tour. I never played in arenas. Doing a stadium tour next year, never played in stadiums. Doing the co-headline tour in Australia, you know, we've only been to Australia once, and like not done anything like that. So it's like, yeah, it just feels like a really good time where I can explore
and,
you know, things creatively when I get the time.
Explore, grow, do your thing.
Yeah.
Flow.
Yeah, not be sort of under any kind of recording obligation necessarily, but it weirdly, you know, I think it makes me more productive because I'm just
Nobody's
it's like when you're
telling
telling
you.
when
Yes.
you're told what to do, or when you're told, not that that's the exact way it works, you know, when you're working with labels. It's not like, go out there, boy, and write a hit. Like it's not like that, but but you know, you feel that looming pressure, and there's also more debate. There's more back and forth, like, oh, should we do this way? Should we work with this person? Should we record this song or this song? Whereas now I'm like it's just a little more direct. I still have, you know, people who I work with who ask questions, but it's kind of like one set of questions.
Totally.
Do you want to do that? Yeah, I think so. You know, and that's really nice. So I'd like to keep it going, but you just never know. And yeah, I'm quite happy being in a bit of like limbo at the minute, and just seeing where it takes me. If I get an album out like this, then great. I think it'll be cool. So
Sick.
We'll see.
Creatively flow.
Yeah, keep it flowing.
It's the right energy. What are you thinking?
Why was it important for you to write and release a song like British Bombs?
Well, at the time, you know, I'd seen some YouTube videos and like maybe like one news article about this issue regarding that. There was stuff regarding the arms trade, but I don't think the general public in the UK were, at least, you know, it only just really caught up with me, like how prevalent England, I guess, and Britain, I guess, was in terms of selling arms to, you know, active bombing campaigns, basically. And, you know, the sort of proof was there that, like, British-made bombs were being found in Yemen, you know, I think probably since in other places too. And it wasn't something that I thought about super intensely, to be honest. It was one of them ones that just kind of, I think I wrote the song in one like afternoon. I remember I kind of, because it was when I was still, or at a time when I was living with my parents, or staying with my parents, and I'd sort of been at my friend's like party the night before, and sort of been in a bit of a haze the next morning, and was reading about this stuff, and I don't know if I was extra emotional because I'd been sort of drinking the night before, but I was so angry, and you know, I'm laughing, but it's like, you know, because of me, not because of the issue. The issue was, you know, it is generally very infuriating that that's what kind of that's what's going on, and that our country has, you know, involvement in these sorts of things. You know, for example, I was talking to my friend Jamie, who's like my closest friend from school, and he's like, you know, he's just one of my most intelligent friends. He's always really been switched on, and even when we were in school together, when we were like 13, 14, he was always putting me on to, like, you know, really important issues. And he kind of wrote one of the lyrics because he was like, you know, like, we've never not been at war, like, our whole lives. Like, we've never not been at war. And I would, like, never thought of it, like, in that way, that bluntly, because, you know, we're sheltered from the sort of, from wars in this day and age. We don't realise what sort of our country is up to a lot of the time. And yeah, that kind of planted one of the seeds and kind of led to one of the lyrics. Your country's been at war since birth. And yeah, so to actually answer your question, so I felt I've just been rambling about the song. I think it was important just to highlight that issue because I didn't feel like even I had a full grasp on how involved Britain was in these sort of overseas bombing campaigns that our bombs were being used in. And it's still, I don't know if people realize how bad it is, but
Definitely not.
Yeah.
No, I mean, people choose to live every day under whatever's like in front of them and in their bubble.
Yeah.
You know?
And, you know, it's hard to blame people, you know, as, you know, like I was saying earlier, life is so, you know, difficult to just get through day to day for most people.
It's a
that
survival
it's like,
technique.
you know, how would you know if it's not put in front of you that,
Totally.
that you know, that our country is, you know, allowing these things to happen, basically, allowing people to be, you know, innocent people to be bombed, and to be killed and all this, you know.
Brazil was too an awareness song, a protest song, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's a kind of interesting one. It came about when sort of between like the Brazil Olympics and the World Cup, there was on one side sort of corruption in FIFA going on, which I was kind of interested in because I'm a big football fan, soccer fan, and
It's okay, we understood.
you just, you know, you gotta say it twice. Yeah, so there was sort of that, and sort of alongside that, like all this shit going on in Rio for the World Cup, you know, people being sort of moved out their homes, basically moved on, and for the you know, the sake of the World Cup or whatever, for shit to be built, stadiums, whatever. And yeah, I just kind of don't know really how or why it came to be in a song, and probably connects to like some of the stuff we were talking about earlier about just back in the day, just putting stuff down and not really thinking about it. But I just, you know, had this thing on my mind about what was going on over there, and I guess, you know, it's one of those things that kind of ties into like a bigger thing. Like the song is about, you know, kind of, you know, related to that specific incident, but it's got this wider resonant thing where there's these like bullish sort of, I don't know, Sepp Blatter types, the, you know, CEOs, whoever, sort of going in and disrupting and or sort of, you know, basically making lots of money off of sort of doing wrong by others, you know, of sort of misplacing other human beings, or, you know, where they could be more considerate of something like the World Cup being good for local people, or, you know, being a sort of being a force for good, like it should be, like an event like that should be. But there's sort of increasingly, and since then, you know, it's continued to be that football's become more and more just about getting a certain number of people really, really rich. And, you know, and I'm not talking about footballers. People like to shit on footballers all the time, but I'd much prefer that the footballers made all the money.
Oh, totally.
Because a lot of them come from like honest backgrounds and help their communities. You know, you hear these stories all the time about them doing amazing things. I'm not saying that all of them do, but I'd much, you know, if a shed load of money is gonna go to someone, I'd much rather them than these sort of like controlling overlords who don't give a fuck about anyone. You know, I'd much rather it goes to Wayne Rooney or, you know, whoever. Not just Wayne Rooney.
It's just a moral place and platform that you've built. I don't know. It's just like I have a lot of respect for somebody who uses art to communicate such things, right? Because
I'm much better at communicating it through art than I am through describing it. It takes me a really long time to get out what I was actually trying to say, but I do know what the songs are about.
About 4 times the length of the actual song.
Yeah, it's actually described. You're like, I'm like, what does that song mean? Well, it was about this thing, you know. But that's kind of why I do it.
But it seems to be like music is a place where you put your emotions when they're pent up, and you have nowhere else to put them.
Yeah. And you can be a little more like, I don't know, succinct as well, because you can spend time writing it, you know, like writing an email, an aggressive email, and getting all the perfect digs in, you know, like it's, you know, I just find that, you can kind of piece together all the right things, and that's, I think, just my way of expressing all manner of different things, and a lot of it, particularly early on, but still now it's a part of my music. You know, I'm looking at the wider world and things going on that maybe go under the radar. It's a bit more difficult to do that now, I think, because of how prevalent like social media is. You know, I think a lot of issues are sort of, I'm not able to absorb in a natural way anymore, because so it's harder to like actually write about the sorts of issues, because I've already seen a million opinions about the sort of.
So it clouds your own.
Yeah, and I kind of have to sit with it, but then I sort of wind up a little bit confused, whereas like then I could kind of, I don't know.
But isn't that like a larger thing, right? The fact that most news is received at first from an opinionated source. So it clouds one's own opinion. Like you lose your self-identity when you can't receive things that are opinionless.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That is, and that's really important that, you know, that sort of non-biased like journalism exists, and, you know, people are able to see facts, but that is so difficult now when things are monitored on a second by second basis, and a million different sources are sort of reporting at all times, because, you know, it doesn't always feel like, you know, we have the facts before information gets out. And I just find it, I don't really know what sources I trust. There's definitely like times, a lot of the time where you just feel like you know little bits about a lot of things, but not really a lot about anything, you know.
It's true.
So, but it's still a part of my music, and I still, you know, it's like finding those individual things that can sort of tell a wider story. Like in Brazil, you know, it's about football, but it's about a wider problem about selfishness on the core base of it. Corruption,
Profit
exactly.
over people, the whole thing.
Yeah, and that doesn't just exist there. That's something that resonates because it exists in so many different industries all over the world, in governments.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
In everything.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Anyway, you can listen to all of Declan's music. It's waiting for you on Amazon Music. Plus this double A side, Champagne and That's Life. Link below. Code on the screen.
Is the cover art for that a Scarface reference?
No, but you know what? There's a few references there, and there was definitely like with That's Life, we went straight to like Frank Sinatra.
Okay, yeah, it kind of fits.
Which I haven't actually. That's weird because I was in a restaurant the other day and they were playing Scarface, and I was like, "What is that film?" And I'd never watched it, but we were looking at all this like noir stuff, black and white stuff, old like gangster movies, and things, but also one of the main references was Cliff Richard. I don't know if he really crossed over, but he's actually a musician from, I guess, might have even started in the late 50s. He's actually from the same exact town as me in the UK.
Interesting.
Cheshunt, like a small town.
This is him right here.
But we were looking at Frank Sinatra, and then I was like, oh, what other like old timey like artists are there? Because initially the artwork wanted to be like me, like with a wink and a point of the finger, sort of like really cheesy, like old school, just like headshot. But then, and not exactly like that, but we were kind of like riffing on the idea, and we took a hell of a lot of photos, all on film basically, to try and get that sort of old school look. Even the letters are letter-sets. They're like from the old like letter packs. So we got these like booklets of letters to like actually sort of superimpose on the picture rather than like print, doing it digitally. So yeah, it was all just based off of like old school headshots of like musicians, but then the picture that we liked was this darker thing where I'm like kind of looking down, and we've got is the chandeliers that thing in Scarface, or like
Scarface has like the split black and white, and then the text is very similar.
Okay, it probably like was like subconsciously from that, because I feel like when we tried like having the black and white, we were like, oh, that feels like the thing, and I feel like now you mention it, I can kind of picture that. It's probably like more of a subconscious, do you know what I mean? Like the reason we thought it felt classic.
I don't have my TV here. If I had my TV here, I would absolutely show the comparison.
You can't put your computer on?
It's very little.
Oh yeah, it is little. We'll send it to you.
Or you can just Google Scarface when you leave here.
Yeah. Well, I've seen a bit of it now, and it seemed good, but the sound wasn't on. So
yeah, I got it, but I've never seen Scarface.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you. Please come back when you drop like the full album, whenever that is.
I don't know. I mean, I want to get something done quickly, so.
Well, it's on your time.
Yeah.
You decide.
Thanks.
No pressure.
None taken.
Sometimes freedom is scary and overwhelming.
Right.
You can get lost in it and drown in this idea of like, you could procrastination.
I think because I've already kind of got my eye on like sets of songs that I have, I think that's not. I'm not. Yeah, I feel quite. There's like a groundedness there, a grounding there, which is good. I'm making this project and I'm making this project, and different sort of types of songs can go into either. So
that's exciting.
That's a good limitation.
Well, please come back. I've been trying to get you on our show for years.
Really?
Many years.
Yeah.
Many years.
I didn't realize. Maybe. Yeah.
We thank
That's
you.
Awesome. No, thanks for having me.
Big fan. You're awesome.
I have 2 questions quickly.
Sure.
Ask. Yeah.
What takes over you when you're on stage? Because now that we've been sitting here, you seem very calm, and then you like end the show with the British Bombs, and you're like doing flips and falling and cartwheels.
Yeah. I don't know. I just always have done. You know what though? I think the way I look at all that, my performance on stage, is that I think when I was younger, to look back to school, I was pretty like zany. I could maybe be a bit shy at times, but I think deep down I was like, you know, when I was around my friends, I was like a bit goofy and zany character, and sort of, I think I've like found that place for that side of me in like performance now, because I can stand in front of a room of people and do crazy shit. Also, it just gets people hyped up, and that's what I want to do, you know, in a gig. I want to get people excited in the right kind of way, not be too much where it's like, okay, but, you know, to sort of get the energy right in certain moments. But I genuinely think like performance and touring more is like given sort of slightly more hectic side of my personality a place to live, and I kind of like otherwise maybe being a bit more chill. Or at least it's probably because I've just gotten a bit older and I like to chill a little more now. But yeah, there's like a, you know, it's a big part of my personality that kind of comes out. So I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing in those moments when I do like a bloody half flip or whatever and like land on my ass. But you know, it's kind of just letting yourself be yourself and just do whatever feels, you know, do whatever's in front of you. If there's something in front of you, grab it and play with it, and
put on a show.
Yeah, it's like a curious and excited version of myself doing weird things.
And I guess that takes me to my last question: is have you performed in Brazil yet?
I think I've played it like on an acoustic guitar in Brazil,
But not a full-on show.
I've not done a show in Brazil,
Wow.
which I'm as annoyed about as anyone. I really want to tour in South America generally. I just haven't really had the right opportunity for it yet. You know, anytime you sort of take on a long journey, it's really complicated to organise. So just I like to think, you know, we just cracked getting to Australia this year. We did it once and now we're going back. So I'm like, okay, that was like out of reach at one point to do in a serious way. So hopefully we, you know, and maybe we're easing down, you know, through Mexico. We did like one Mexico show before, and then we just came back and did two. We did Guadalajara as well, so maybe we're just gonna keep going and get into South America and finally play, Brazil in Brazil.
Do you consider yourself a rock star?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah.
No, not really. No, but I think that's how you try and behave on stage a little bit sometimes, you know, be a bit of a character. I think in daily life, I think that sort of rock star persona and rock star shit has gotten tired, and people are like, you're just a guy, don't pull any shit, you know, and you know, it can lead to a very sort of toxic, dangerous lifestyle if you get too lost in being in, you know, ego, whatever it is of like a rock star. But on stage, hell yeah, you know. But yeah, it's just like as I say, there's a place for that to live, the sort of egomaniac rock star, just like on stage.
And it's when you're putting on a show for others.
Yeah, because it's cool and fun.
Fuck yeah. I appreciate you being here today.
Not at all.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, that's great. You good?
Yeah.
Music below. Listen to Declan's stuff. It's all on Amazon Music.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Come back
Great.
again.
Yeah, I will.
Declan Mckenna, everybody.
Hey.